What is a habit?
A habit is a behavior that has been repeated enough times to become automatic. Habits are performed with little conscious thought and are driven by neural pathways that the brain creates to conserve energy and cognitive resources.
What is the habit loop?
The habit loop, described by Charles Duhigg, consists of three components: 1. Cue, the trigger that initiates the behavior; 2. Routine, the behavior itself; and 3. Reward, the benefit you gain from the behavior. This loop drives all habitual behavior.
What is the cue in the habit loop?
The cue is the trigger that tells your brain to initiate a behavior. Cues can be a time of day, a location, an emotional state, other people, or a preceding action. Identifying cues is the first step to changing or building habits.
What is the routine in the habit loop?
The routine is the actual behavior or action you perform in response to the cue. It can be physical, going for a run; mental, thinking positively; or emotional, feeling proud. This is the habit itself, the part most people try to change.
What is the reward in the habit loop?
The reward is the positive outcome that reinforces the habit loop. It satisfies a craving and tells the brain this loop is worth remembering. Rewards can be physical, endorphins; emotional, sense of accomplishment; or social, praise from others.
Who is James Clear and what is Atomic Habits?
James Clear is an author and habits expert who wrote Atomic Habits, 2018, one of the most popular books on behavior change. He argues that small, incremental improvements, 1% better each day, compound into remarkable results over time.
What are the 4 laws of behavior change from Atomic Habits?
James Clear's 4 laws are: 1. Make it obvious, cue; 2. Make it attractive, craving; 3. Make it easy, response; and 4. Make it satisfying, reward. To break a bad habit, invert each law.
What is the first law of behavior change? Make it obvious.
Making it obvious means designing your environment so cues for good habits are visible and prominent. Use implementation intentions: I will, behavior, at, time, in, location, and habit stacking to make the desired behaviors trigger unmistakable.
What is the second law of behavior change? Make it attractive.
Making it attractive means pairing the habit with something you enjoy, temptation bundling, or joining a culture where the desired behavior is the norm. The more attractive a behavior, the more likely it is to become habitual.
What is the third law of behavior change? Make it easy.
Making it easy means reducing friction for good habits and increasing friction for bad ones. Use the 2-minute rule: start with just 2 minutes of the habit, prepare your environment in advance, and simplify the behavior to its smallest possible version.
What is the fourth law of behavior change? Make it satisfying.
Making it satisfying means adding immediate rewards to habits that have delayed benefits. Use habit tracking, celebrate small wins, and make progress visible. What is immediately rewarded is repeated; what is immediately punished is avoided.
What is the 2-minute rule?
The 2-minute rule states that when starting a new habit, scale it down to something that takes 2 minutes or less. Read before bed becomes read 1 page. This overcomes the initial resistance to starting and builds consistency before optimizing.
Who is B.J. Fogg and what is Tiny Habits?
B.J. Fogg is a Stanford behavior scientist who developed the Tiny Habits method. His approach focuses on starting with extremely small behaviors, e.g., floss 1 tooth, anchoring them to existing routines, and using celebration to wire in the habit.
What is the Tiny Habits recipe?
The Tiny Habits recipe follows the format: after I, anchor moment; I will, tiny behavior. For example, after I pour my morning coffee, I will write 1 sentence in my journal. The anchor moment is an existing routine that triggers the new behavior.
What role does celebration play in Tiny Habits?
In B.J. Fogg's method, celebration is the key to wiring in a new habit. Immediately after performing the tiny behavior, you celebrate, fist pump, say victory, smile. This creates a positive emotion that tells the brain to encode the behavior. Fogg calls this shine.
What is Fogg's behavior model? B equals map.
B.J. Fogg's model states that behavior occurs when motivation, ability, and a prompt converge at the same moment. B equals map. If any element is missing, the behavior won't happen. Tiny Habits focuses on making ability very high and using reliable prompts.
Who is Charles Duhigg and what is the power of habit?
Charles Duhigg is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist who wrote The Power of Habit, 2012. He popularized the habit loop concept and explored how habits work in individuals, organizations, and societies, emphasizing the importance of keystone habits.
What is the golden rule of habit change?
Duhigg's golden rule states that you can't extinguish a bad habit, you can only change the routine while keeping the same cue and reward. For example, if stress, cue, leads to snacking, routine, for comfort, reward, replace snacking with a walk that provides the same comfort.
What is habit stacking?
Habit stacking is a strategy where you link a new habit to an existing one using the formula, after, current habit, I will, new habit. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will meditate for 2 minutes. It leverages existing neural pathways as triggers.
What is an implementation intention?
An implementation intention is a plan that specifies when, where, and how you will perform a behavior using the format, I will, behavior, at, time, in, location. Research by Peter Gallwitzer shows this simple technique significantly increases follow-through on goals.
How effective are implementation intentions?
A meta-analysis found that implementation intentions have a medium to large effect on goal achievement. People who write specific when, where, how plans are significantly more likely to follow through than those who simply set goals without specifying the details.
What is environment design for habits?
Environment design involves structuring your physical surroundings to make good habits easier and bad habits harder. Examples: put running shoes by the door, remove junk food from the kitchen, place a book on your pillow. Your environment often shapes behavior more than willpower.
How does environment design reduce reliance on willpower?
By making the desired behavior the path of least resistance, environment design automates good choices. When healthy food is at eye level and junk food is hidden, you make better choices without needing willpower. This is called choice architecture.
What is temptation bundling?
Temptation bundling is a strategy where you pair a behavior you need to do with one you want to do. For example, only listen to your favorite podcast while exercising, or only watch your favorite show while folding laundry. It was researched by Katie Milkman at Wharton.
What are identity-based habits?
Identity-based habits, from James Clear, involve focusing on who you wish to become rather than what you want to achieve. Instead of I want to run a marathon, outcome, adopt I am a runner, identity. Each habit repetition becomes a vote for your new identity.
Why are identity-based habits more effective than outcome-based habits?
Identity-based habits are more sustainable because they change your self-image, which drives long-term behavior. When you believe I am a healthy person, healthy choices feel natural rather than forced. Outcome-based goals often fade after the goal is achieved.
How do you change your identity through habits?
You change your identity through a two-step process. 1. Decide the type of person you want to be, and 2. Prove it to yourself with small wins. Each time you write a page, you cast a vote for being a writer. Identity change is gradual and evidence-based.
How can you break a bad habit?
To break a bad habit, use the inversion of the 4 laws. Make it invisible, remove cues, make it unattractive, reframe the benefits, make it difficult, increase friction, and make it unsatisfying, add immediate consequences or accountability.
What is the role of friction in breaking bad habits?
Adding friction means making the bad habit more difficult to perform. Examples: delete social media apps from your phone, unplug the TV after each use, don't keep cigarettes in the house. Even small amounts of friction can dramatically reduce the frequency of unwanted behaviors.
What is a commitment device?
A commitment device is a choice you make in the present that locks in better behavior in the future. Examples: using website blockers during work hours, setting up automatic savings transfers, or giving money to a friend that you only get back if you meet your goal.
What are keystone habits?
Keystone habits are habits that trigger a cascade of other positive changes. For example, regular exercise often leads to better eating, improved sleep, and increased productivity, even though those weren't the original goals. They create a ripple effect of positive behavior.
What is an example of a keystone habit?
Exercise is a classic keystone habit. Research shows that people who start exercising regularly also tend to eat better, sleep more, smoke less, feel less stressed, and be more productive at work, even without consciously trying to change those behaviors.
What is habit tracking?
Habit tracking is the practice of recording whether you completed your habit each day, often using a calendar, app, or journal. It provides visual evidence of progress, creates a satisfying sense of accomplishment, and leverages the don't break the chain motivation.
What is the don't break the chain method?
Popularized by comedian Jerry Seinfeld, this method involves marking an X on a calendar for each day you complete your habit. As the chain of X's grows, your motivation shifts to not breaking the streak. It combines visual progress tracking with loss aversion.
What are popular habit tracking apps?
Popular habit tracking apps include Habitica, Gamified, Streaks, iOS, Simple and Elegant, Loop Habit Tracker, Android, Open Source, and Notion, customizable templates. The best app is whichever one you'll actually use consistently.
What is willpower and how does it work?
Willpower is the ability to resist short-term temptations to achieve long-term goals. Research by Roy Baumeister suggested it functions like a muscle. It can be strengthened with practice but also depleted with overuse, though this ego depletion model has been debated.
What is decision fatigue?
Decision fatigue is the deterioration of decision-making quality after a long session of making decisions. As your mental energy depletes throughout the day, you're more likely to make impulsive choices, take shortcuts, or default to the easiest option.
How can you combat decision fatigue?
Combat decision fatigue by making important decisions early in the day, creating routines and defaults for recurring decisions, meal prep, wardrobe capsule, reducing trivial choices, and batching similar decisions together. Habits themselves reduce decision fatigue by automating behavior.
What is the relationship between willpower and habits?
Habits reduce the need for willpower by making behaviors automatic. While willpower is limited and unreliable, habits operate on autopilot. The strategy is to use your limited willpower to build good habits, which then sustain themselves without willpower.
What are SMART goals?
SMART goals are specific, clearly defined, measurable, quantifiable, achievable, realistic, relevant, aligned with broader objectives, and time-bound, with a deadline. Example: I will meditate for 10 minutes daily for the next 30 days.
What are OKRs, objectives and key results?
OKRs are a goal-setting framework where an objective is a qualitative, inspiring goal, and key results are 2 to 5 measurable outcomes that indicate achievement. Example: objective, become physically fit. Key results: run 5K in under 30 minutes, exercise 4x per week.
What is the difference between goals and systems?
Goals are the results you want to achieve, while systems are the processes that lead to those results. James Clear argues that you should focus on systems rather than goals because you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
What is the 1% improvement concept?
The 1% improvement concept, from James Clear, states that getting 1% better each day compounds to being 37 times better over a year. Conversely, getting 1% worse daily leads to nearly zero. It illustrates how small, consistent improvements create enormous long-term results.
How does compound growth apply to habits?
Just like compound interest in finance, small habit improvements accumulate exponentially over time. Reading 10 pages a day equals 3,650 pages, about 12 books, per year. The effects of habits multiply as you maintain them, creating outcomes far beyond what seems possible initially.
What is the plateau of latent potential?
James Clear describes the plateau of latent potential as the frustrating period when you're putting in effort but not seeing results. Habits often don't show visible progress for weeks or months because work is accumulating beneath the surface, like ice melting at 31 degrees Fahrenheit versus 32 degrees Fahrenheit.
What is the valley of disappointment?
The valley of disappointment is the gap between expected and actual progress during habit formation. People expect linear progress but experience a lag, leading to discouragement. Understanding that results are delayed helps you persist through this critical period.
How long does it take to form a habit?
Contrary to the popular 21 days myth, research by Philippa Lally at UCL found that habit formation takes an average of 66 days, with a range of 18 to 254 days depending on the complexity of the behavior and the individual.
What is the myth about 21 days to form a habit?
The 21-day myth originated from Dr. Maxwell Maltz's 1960 observation that amputees took about 21 days to adjust to their new situation. It was misinterpreted and popularized as the time needed to form any habit. Actual research shows it takes much longer on average.
What is the role of consistency versus intensity in habit formation?
Consistency matters far more than intensity for habit formation. Meditating 5 minutes daily for a month is more effective than one 2-hour session. The brain builds neural pathways through repetition, not duration. Missing a day occasionally is fine, but avoid missing 2 days in a row.
What is the never miss twice rule?
The never miss twice rule, from James Clear, states that missing 1 day of a habit is acceptable, but you should never miss 2 consecutive days. 1 miss is an accident. 2 is the start of a new bad habit. This rule prevents occasional lapses from becoming permanent breaks.
What is the role of dopamine in habit formation?
Dopamine is the brain's anticipation chemical that drives the craving stage of the habit loop. It is released not just when you receive a reward, but in anticipation of the reward. This is why cues can trigger powerful urges even before the behavior occurs.
What is the habit reward prediction error?
A reward prediction error occurs when a reward is better or worse than expected. When a reward exceeds expectations, dopamine spikes, strengthening the habit. When it falls short, dopamine drops, weakening the habit. Novel and variable rewards maintain high dopamine levels.
What is variable reward and why is it powerful?
Variable rewards are unpredictable rewards that vary in size and timing. They create stronger habit loops than fixed rewards because the uncertainty keeps dopamine levels high. Slot machines, social media feeds, and email notifications all use variable reward schedules.
What is habit substitution?
Habit substitution involves replacing the routine part of a habit loop while keeping the same cue and reward. Instead of eliminating a bad habit entirely, which is very difficult, you redirect the energy into a healthier behavior that satisfies the same craving.
What are if-then plans for habits?
If-then plans, a form of implementation intention, specify, if, situation, then I will, behavior. For example, if I feel the urge to check social media, then I will do 5 push-ups. They pre-program responses to specific triggers, reducing the need for in-the-moment willpower.
What is the Premack principle?
The Premack principle states that a more probable behavior can reinforce a less probable behavior. In habit terms, first, do the thing you need to do, then, do the thing you want to do. Example, after I complete 30 minutes of studying, I can play video games.
What is the role of accountability in habit formation?
Accountability increases habit adherence by creating social consequences for missed behaviors. An accountability partner, public commitment, or habit contract makes the cost of skipping a habit more immediate and tangible, bridging the gap between intention and action.
What is a habit contract?
A habit contract is a written agreement that specifies your habit commitment, tracking method, and consequences for failing to follow through. It is signed by you and one or two accountability partners who will enforce the consequences. Making commitments formal increases follow-through.
What is the Hawthorne effect and how does it relate to habits?
The Hawthorne effect shows that people modify their behavior when they know they're being observed. For habits, simply tracking your behavior or sharing goals with others leverages this effect. The awareness of being monitored improves performance and consistency.
What is the fresh start effect?
The fresh start effect, researched by Katie Milkman, describes the tendency for people to be more motivated to pursue goals at temporal landmarks, New Year's, Mondays, birthdays, or the start of a new month. These moments create a psychological clean slate that boosts motivation.
What is motivation crowding?
Motivation crowding occurs when external rewards, like money, diminish intrinsic motivation for a behavior. For example, paying someone to exercise may reduce their internal desire to do it. For sustainable habits, intrinsic motivation and identity alignment are more important than external incentives.
What is the difference between motivation and discipline?
Motivation is the emotional desire to act. It fluctuates daily and is unreliable. Discipline is the ability to act regardless of motivation, based on commitment and habit. Successful people don't wait for motivation, they rely on systems, routines, and discipline.
Why is motivation unreliable for long-term behavior change?
Motivation is unreliable because it is driven by emotion, which naturally fluctuates based on sleep, stress, mood, and circumstances. Building habits and systems that don't require motivation ensures consistent behavior regardless of how you feel on any given day.
What is the Zeigarnik effect and how does it help habits?
The Zeigarnik effect states that incomplete tasks occupy the mind more than completed ones. You can leverage this for habits by starting a task, even for just 2 minutes, so that the mental tension of incompleteness motivates you to continue and finish.
What is habit shaping?
Habit shaping is the process of gradually building up a complex habit through incremental steps. Start with the simplest version of the behavior and progressively increase difficulty. For example, day 1 to 7, put on running shoes. Day 8 to 14, walk for 5 minutes. Day 15 to 21, jog for 5 minutes.
What is the role of sleep in habit formation?
Sleep plays a critical role because the brain consolidates memories and neural pathways during sleep, including those formed by habit repetition. Sleep deprivation impairs the prefrontal cortex, reducing willpower and increasing impulsive behavior, making it harder to maintain good habits.
What is ego depletion?
Ego depletion is the theory, proposed by Roy Baumeister, that self-control draws from a limited pool of mental resources. After exerting willpower in one area, you have less available for subsequent tasks. While debated in recent research, it highlights the importance of not relying solely on willpower.
What is the difference between process goals and outcome goals?
Outcome goals focus on the result, lose 20 pounds, while process goals focus on the behavior, exercise 30 minutes daily. Process goals are more effective for habit formation because you have direct control over the process, while outcomes depend on many external factors.
What is the Goldilocks rule of habit maintenance?
James Clear's Goldilocks rule states that humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks of just manageable difficulty, not too easy, boring, and not too hard, discouraging. To maintain habits long-term, gradually increase the challenge to stay in this Goldilocks zone.
What is habit graduation?
Habit graduation is the process of incrementally increasing the difficulty or duration of a habit once the basic version is established. Example: start with 5 minutes of meditation, then after 2 weeks increase to 10, then 15. This prevents both boredom and overwhelm.
What is the role of context in habit formation?
Context, time, location, preceding events, becomes strongly associated with habitual behavior through repetition. This is why it's easier to exercise at the gym, strong contextual cue, than at home. Consistent context strengthens the automaticity of habits.
Why do habits often fail during travel or disruption?
Habits rely on environmental cues and consistent context. When you travel or experience a major life change, those cues disappear, breaking the automatic trigger. To maintain habits during disruption, create portable cues or use implementation intentions tied to actions rather than locations.
What is a habit scorecard?
A habit scorecard, from James Clear, involves listing every daily behavior and rating it as positive plus symbol negative, minus, or neutral equal sign relative to the person you want to become. It builds awareness of your current habits without trying to change them. Awareness is the first step.
What is the Diderot effect?
The Diderot effect describes the tendency for one new acquisition to trigger a spiral of additional purchases or changes. In habits, it can work positively. Adopting one good habit can create a cascade of related improvements, similar to keystone habits.
What is moral licensing?
Moral licensing is the psychological tendency to allow yourself to indulge after doing something virtuous. For example, I exercised today, so I deserve this cake. It can undermine habit progress. Counter it by framing good behaviors as part of your identity, not as credits to spend.
What is abstinence violation effect?
The abstinence violation effect occurs when a single lapse leads to total abandonment of a habit. I already ate one cookie, so I might as well eat the whole box. Combat this by expecting occasional lapses and having a plan to get back on track immediately.
What is a bright line rule?
A bright line rule is a clearly defined, non-negotiable boundary that removes ambiguity. Examples: I don't drink alcohol versus I'll try to drink less, no phones at the dinner table. Bright lines eliminate the need for constant decision-making and willpower.
What is the role of social environment in habit formation?
Your social environment profoundly shapes your habits because humans naturally adopt behaviors of their social group. We imitate the habits of 3 groups: the close, family, friends; the many, society; and the powerful, those with status. Join groups where your desired behavior is the norm.
What is the social default effect on habits?
The social default effect means we tend to adopt whatever behavior is most common in our social group. If your friends exercise regularly, you're more likely to exercise. This is why James Clear recommends joining a culture where your desired habit is the normal behavior.
What is the difference between approach goals and avoidance goals?
Approach goals focus on doing something positive. I will eat vegetables with every meal, while avoidance goals focus on not doing something. I will not eat junk food. Research shows approach goals are more motivating and sustainable because they focus on gain rather than loss.
What is the implementation gap?
The implementation gap is the difference between knowing what to do and actually doing it. Most people don't lack information about healthy habits, they lack execution strategies. Implementation intentions, environment design, and accountability systems help bridge this gap.
What is self-efficacy and how does it affect habits?
Self-efficacy, from Albert Bandura's work, is your belief in your ability to succeed at a specific task. Higher self-efficacy leads to more effort and persistence in habit formation. Small wins build self-efficacy, which is why starting with tiny habits is so effective.
What is the what the hell effect?
The what the hell effect, formerly the abstinence violation effect, occurs when a small lapse triggers complete abandonment of a goal. After one bad meal, you think what the hell, the day is ruined, and eat poorly the rest of the day. Self-compassion and the never miss twice rule combat this.
What is the peak end rule and how does it affect habits?
The peak end rule, from Daniel Kahneman, states that people judge experiences based on the peak intensity and the ending, not the average. For habits, ending on a positive note, even cutting a workout slightly short when it feels good, creates better memories that motivate future repetition.
What is the role of identity in breaking bad habits?
Breaking bad habits becomes easier when you shift your identity away from the behavior. Instead of "I'm trying to quit smoking," say "I'm not a smoker." When the behavior conflicts with your self-image, the psychological tension makes it easier to resist temptation.
What is a cue-controlled habit?
A cue-controlled habit is one where the behavior is almost entirely triggered by the cue rather than motivation or conscious choice. Highly established habits, like buckling a seatbelt when entering a car, are cue-controlled. The cue alone is sufficient to trigger the behavior automatically.
How can you use habit stacking to build a morning routine?
Build a morning routine by chaining new habits to existing ones. After I turn off my alarm, I will drink a glass of water. After I drink water, I will meditate for 5 minutes. After I meditate, I will journal for 3 minutes. Each completed habit becomes the cue for the next.
What is a trigger action plan, TAP?
A trigger action plan pairs a specific trigger with a specific action. When, trigger, I will, action. Unlike implementation intentions, which focus on time/place, TAPs focus on situational triggers. When I feel the urge to procrastinate, I will work on the task for just 2 minutes.
What is the role of reward timing in habit formation?
For habits to form, rewards must come immediately after the behavior. The brain struggles to associate behaviors with delayed rewards. This is why habits with long-term benefits, exercise, saving money, need artificial immediate rewards, tracking, celebration, to establish.
What is strategic laziness in habit design?
Strategic laziness means designing your environment so the laziest option is the best option. If you want to eat healthier, pre-cut vegetables and place them in front in the fridge. If you want to read more, put a book on your pillow. Make the default choice the right choice.
What is the role of repetition versus time in habit formation?
Research shows that habit formation depends more on repetition, frequency, than on time elapsed. It's not about 21 or 66 days, it's about how many times you perform the behavior. Daily habits form faster than weekly ones because they accumulate repetitions more quickly. What is time blocking and how does it support habits? Time blocking is the practice of scheduling specific blocks of time for specific activities on your calendar. By assigning your habits to dedicated time slots, you create implementation intentions and reduce the chance of other tasks crowding them out.
What is the Seinfeld strategy for habit consistency?
Named after Jerry Seinfeld's daily writing practice, this strategy involves marking a calendar each day you complete your habit and focusing on not breaking the chain. The visual streak becomes a powerful motivator. You don't want to lose your progress.
What is the difference between habits and routines?
A habit is a single behavior performed automatically in response to a cue, while a routine is a sequence of behaviors performed regularly. A morning routine might consist of multiple individual habits, meditation, exercise, journaling, chained together.
How does reward substitution help build habits with delayed benefits?
Reward substitution involves adding an immediate reward to a behavior whose real benefits are long-term. Since the brain prioritizes immediate gratification, pairing a habit like saving money with an immediate visual reward, watching your savings tracker grow, helps reinforce the behavior.
What is the role of pre-commitment in habit formation?
Pre-commitment involves making choices in advance that bind your future self to better behavior. Examples include paying for a gym membership upfront, signing up for a race, or automating savings. These commitments leverage your current motivation to constrain future impulsive decisions.
What is the domino effect in habits?
The domino effect describes how one small habit change can trigger a chain reaction of other changes. Similar to keystone habits, making one positive shift, like waking up earlier, often naturally leads to other improvements: exercising, eating breakfast, being more productive.
What is habit layering?
Habit layering is the technique of gradually adding new habits on top of established ones over time. Rather than overhauling your life at once, you master one habit, then add another. This prevents overwhelm and builds a sustainable daily system incrementally.
How does journaling support habit formation?
Journaling supports habits by increasing self-awareness, tracking progress, and processing obstacles. Writing about your habits helps you identify patterns, celebrate wins, troubleshoot failures, and maintain clarity on why the habit matters to you.
What is automaticity in the context of habits?
Automaticity is the degree to which a behavior is performed without conscious thought. It is the defining feature of a fully formed habit. Research measures automaticity through self-report scales, and it increases gradually with consistent repetition until a plateau is reached.
What is the fresh start effect and how can you use it for habits?
The fresh start effect, studied by Katie Milkman, shows that people are more motivated to pursue goals at temporal landmarks like New Year's, Mondays, or birthdays. Use these moments strategically to launch new habits when your motivation and optimism are naturally higher.